0312 local time. Strait of Hormuz. The night air carries salt and petroleum and the faint vibration of diesel engines running somewhere in the dark. Above the strait, a United States Navy P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft has been executing a slow, methodical grid pattern for the last 3 hours. Altitude 11,000 feet. Radar active, sensors passive. The crew has tracked merchant tankers, fishing dhows, and the routine transit traffic that moves through the world's most strategically critical choke point every night without incident. Then, the radar contacts change. 16 of them. Bearing 067, range 32 nautical miles northeast of the carrier strike group's current position. The tactical coordinator does not look away from his screen. He keys his radio. 16 surface contacts, line abreast formation, moving southwest at 8 knots. 8 knots. Slow, deliberate, not transiting, not fishing, working. On the tactical display, the contacts spread across a 4.2 nautical mile front, evenly spaced at approximately 900 feet between each vessel. It is not a patrol formation. It is not a commercial convoy. The geometry is precise, calculated, and unmistakable to anyone who has studied Iranian naval doctrine in any depth at all. This is a mine-laying operation. Inside the carrier's Combat Information Center, the watch officer receives the data feed from the Poseidon. Every screen in the room updates simultaneously. 16 contact symbols populate the tactical display in a clean, deliberate sweep across the width of the strait. Bearing 067. Range 28 nautical miles. Speed 8 knots. Course 229. The officer of the watch studies the formation for 4 seconds. Then he picks up the command circuit. Get the Admiral. The IFF sweep comes back negative. All 16 contacts squawking nothing. No transponders, no AIS signatures. Operating dark in the most trafficked maritime choke point on Earth, through which 17% of global oil supply transits every single day. Electronic intelligence confirms the emissions profile within 90 seconds. The signals match IRGCN small surface combatant patterns. Hull-mounted deck configurations consistent with mine-handling equipment. Confirmed. 16 Hendijan-class mine-laying vessels. In the strait behind them, passive sonar buoys dropped by the Poseidon 30 minutes earlier are already detecting the acoustic signature of objects entering the water. Not debris, not wake turbulence, something dense, cylindrical, and deliberate sinking slowly toward the floor of a shipping lane used by 6 million barrels of oil per day. The tactical coordinator marks the first mine location on the chart, then the second, then the third. Range to formation 24 nautical miles and closing. At the current deployment rate, the nearest minefield will reach the primary transit corridor in 11 minutes. The escort destroyer USS Farragut, positioned 22 nautical miles south of the carrier, begins turning northwest. Her sonar operators are already active. Her bridge team has the strike picture. Time to critical corridor, 9 minutes. The Admiral arrives in the CIC. He looks at the tactical display for exactly 3 seconds. He speaks 2 words: launch aircraft. 45 minutes earlier, aboard the lead Iranian mine-laying vessel, the night had been perfectly ordinary.
The formation commander stood at the bridge window with his arms folded. He was a 39-year-old officer of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy who had planned and rehearsed this mission for 7 months. His crew of 11 men knew their assignments precisely. They had practiced the mine deployment sequence in darkness until the timing was mechanical and automatic. The cradles were loaded, 16 vessels, 40 mines each, 640 mines total, each one pre-armed and pre-set,
ready to be placed across the 3 primary navigation channels of the Strait of Hormuz in a single coordinated pass. The plan was straightforward, elegant even by the standards of asymmetric naval strategy. Close the strait, not with warships, not with missiles, with the ocean floor itself. At 0227 local, the formation commander received his execution order via encrypted burst transmission. One word, the Persian equivalent of begin. The vessels slipped from their holding positions and moved southwest in perfect line abreast formation. Communication was kept to the absolute minimum. Radar remained passive. Each captain followed lane markers preloaded into their navigation systems. There were no American ships visible on any of their screens. Their electronic warfare sensors reported clean sky, no radar lock, no active tracking. What no one aboard those 16 vessels knew, not the formation commander, not the lead captain, not a single sailor standing watch on any of those decks, was that a United States Navy P-8A Poseidon had been tracking their tender vessels since 011 local. It had observed the mine-loading sequence from 11,000 feet. It had imaged the cradle configurations on each deck using synthetic aperture radar. It had already transmitted complete hull profiles and acoustic baselines to the carrier strike group 3 separate times before the first Iranian captain had started his engines. The formation had been compromised before it ever cleared its home harbor. They did not know that yet. Inside the carrier's strike planning space, the Air Wing commander had had the target package for less than 20 seconds when the first FA-18F Super Hornet crew reaches their aircraft. The strike package forms with practiced speed. 4 FA-18F Super Hornets loaded with AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles. 6 FA-18E Super Hornets carrying GBU-32 JDAM precision-guided munitions. 2 EA-18G Growlers configured for electronic attack. 1 E-2D Hawkeye already turning at the catapult for airborne command and control. Total ordnance load sufficient to prosecute all 16 contacts in a single coordinated strike pass. Deck crews move at a controlled sprint, no wasted motion. Aircraft spotted. Catapult hookups confirmed. Final weapons checks complete. First aircraft launches at 0317. By 0321, all 13 aircraft are airborne and climbing northwest toward the formation. Inside the CIC, the countdown to the critical corridor has dropped to 6 minutes. On the tactical display, mine markers are multiplying. The Poseidon's sonobuoys are logging new acoustic contacts every 38 seconds. 51 mines now plotted and geolocated, each one on the floor of the strait. The EA-18G Growlers push ahead of the strike formation. Their ALQ-99 jamming pods begin radiating. Shore-based Iranian surveillance radar, positioned along the Hormuzgan coastline, begins spiking and degrading. The Iranian formation's primary communication relay, a ground station near Bandar Abbas, receives a sustained burst of electronic interference that corrupts their inbound traffic. The 16 captains below are being isolated. Their communications are being stripped away, one system at a time.
Their deck-mounted heavy machine guns elevating toward the incoming aircraft. Range from lead aircraft to the formation, 9 nautical miles. 8.3. 7. The E-2D Hawkeye, orbiting at 24,000 feet, pushes individual target assignments to each strike aircraft. Every pilot in the package receives a specific hull designation and a specific weapon type. At 0324 local, the first harpoon drops cleanly off the wing, then a second, then 4 more in rapid succession. The missiles accelerate to 0.85 Mach and drop to 15 feet above the water, racing northwest in shallow, flat trajectories that give the Iranian gun crews almost no warning. One of the Iranian deck gunners opens fire. Tracer rounds stitch upward toward the third FA-18 in the package. The pilot brakes hard right, releases a defensive flare, and sustains 6.5 G through the turn. The rounds pass through empty air, 40 feet wide. The pilot rolls wings level, reacquires his designated target, and calls his weapon. Bomb away. The first harpoon impacts at 0325. The lead mine-laying vessel takes the warhead amidships. The detonation reaches the mine storage cradle. What follows is not a single explosion. The vessel comes apart in sections. Then the second impact. Then the third. The strike package moves methodically through the formation from the northern edge southward. JDAM strikes from the F/A-18Es, find vessels that have turned broadside or are attempting evasive maneuvers. Each weapon guides to within 3 feet of its designated aim point. 5 vessels burning, then 8, then 11. The formation is dissolving. Survivors are scattering southeast, abandoning their lane assignments and pushing their engines to absolute maximum, which for a mine-laying vessel is 14 knots. It is not fast enough. 3 Iranian vessels are still running, trailing smoke, pouring fuel. The E-2D repoints the final 2 FA-18F crews to the northeast. Range to remaining targets, 3 nautical miles. 2.1. 1.4. All 3 vessels are struck within 90 seconds of each other. The last one stops dead in the water at 0328 local. It is not burning. It is simply no longer there. 16 contacts, 16 destroyed. The strike package turns south, configuring for recovery back to the carrier. But the tactical display has not cleared. Inside the CIC, one of the sonar watch operators has been monitoring a faint passive contact for the last 4 minutes. He has said nothing because he was not yet certain. The signal was weak, intermittent, and partially masked by the acoustic clutter of the engagement. Now the signal is clear. He keys the circuit. Submerged contact, bearing 112, range 7 nautical miles from Farragut. Classification, probable submarine. The room goes quiet. The contact is not in the direction of the mine layers. It is southeast, behind the destroyer. It has not moved significantly in 4 minutes. It has been there the entire time, waiting. The Iranian Kilo-class submarine Yunus had taken her position beneath the operational area 6 hours before the first mine-laying vessel entered the strait. The crew had maintained strict emissions control throughout. No transmissions, no active sonar. Propulsion at bare steerage, running on battery power at 200 feet, deep enough to exploit the strait's thermal layers and remain acoustically invisible against the background noise of heavy commercial shipping. The mission assigned to the Yunez was simple and specific. The mine layers would close the strait. The Americans would respond with air power. When the strike aircraft launched, the Yunez would use the acoustic chaos of the engagement to mask her approach and fire on the nearest surface escort. The theory was that the Americans would be entirely focused upward, on aircraft and mines, and would not be watching below. At 0326, the submarine commander heard the first harpoon impact through his passive array. Then the second. The acoustic signature of each detonation came through the hull as a deep, hollow knock. He counted 16 distinct impacts before the water went quiet again. He waited exactly 30 seconds. Then he gave the order. 2 Type 53 torpedoes exited the forward tubes of the Yunez at 0328 local. Bearing 214 degrees. Range to target 7.1 nautical miles. Target USS Farragut. Running time to impact 4 minutes 7 seconds. The clock is already running. Torpedo launch. 2 weapons inbound. Bearing 112. Range 7 nautical miles. Course converging on Farragut. The datum reaches USS Farragut CIC and the Poseidon's relay simultaneously. The Farragut's commanding officer does not hesitate. Hard left rudder, all ahead flank, launch countermeasures, deploy Nixie. The destroyer bends into a tight port arc, her gas turbines driving to maximum shaft horsepower. Behind her hull, the AN/SLQ-25 Nixie acoustic decoy deploys on its tow cable, beginning to emit. Range to torpedoes, 6 nautical miles, 5.2. An MH-60R Seahawk helicopter from the carrier, already on anti-submarine patrol 17 miles east, receives the contact datum and turns hard northwest. The crew pushes airspeed to 145 knots and begins descending toward the attack bearing. 4.1 nautical miles. Torpedoes still closing. The Seahawk reaches the datum and deploys a pattern of sonobuoys in a tight circle around the Kilo's last confirmed position. The buoys go active immediately. The acoustic picture updates within seconds. The submarine is attempting to turn north, trying to open range from the sonobuoy field. It is not clearing the field. 3.3 nautical miles. Torpedoes still converging on Farragut. The first weapon passes through the active sonobuoy zone and homes on the Nixie. The seeker head locks. The torpedo curves away from Farragut's hull, following the decoy south until its fuel exhausts. First weapon neutralized. 1 torpedo still running. 2.4 nautical miles. 2.1. On the Farragut's bridge, the captain is watching the second torpedo's track on the tactical display. The decoy is streaming. Electronic countermeasures are active. The ship is at maximum evasive speed. The second weapon is not homing on the decoy. It is running straight. 1.8 nautical miles. Now they are the ones being hunted. On the Seahawk, the tactical systems operator has a firing solution on the Yuns. Mark 54 lightweight torpedo. Away. The weapon hits the water 400 meters north of the sonobuoy datum at 0332 local. It accelerates to 40 knots. Its active seeker head goes operational. Inside the Yuns,
The sonar operator hears the Mark 54's seeker ping and reports it immediately. The submarine commander drives her deep. He orders maximum battery discharge. The Kilo pushes to 7 knots submerged, turns hard right, turns again, vents a torpedo decoy canister to starboard. The Mark 54 dismisses the decoy. It turns with the submarine. 1.1 nautical miles to Farragut. 900 meters. Explosion. Subsurface. Bearing 098 from Farragut. Range 2.3 nautical miles. The Mark 54 has detonated against the Yuns. The shock wave from the submarine's destruction propagates outward through the water column. The second Iranian torpedo, already past guidance range from the Nixie, enters the shock wave at 800 meters from Farragut's hull. The acoustic disruption corrupts its terminal guidance logic. The weapon turns. It runs north. It exhausts its fuel at 400 meters from the Farragut's bow. The sonobuoy field goes quiet. No propulsion noise. No hull creak. No secondary explosions. The Yuns does not surface. She does not respond. The passive sonobuoys log a slow, expanding debris signature at 218 feet. The submarine is gone. In the carrier's CIC, the tactical display begins its final update. Threat symbols shift from red to gray, one by one. The torpedo tracks terminate. The submarine datum is replaced by a debris notation.
The last radar returns from the burning mine-laying hulks collapse and disappear as the vessels founder below the surface. At 0341 local, the Poseidon transmits its final surface picture confirmation. 16 contacts destroyed. 0 active contacts remaining in the mine-laying operating area. At 0344, sonar confirms no submerged contacts within the strike group's defensive perimeter. The strike aircraft begin their recovery sequence. EA-18G Growlers land first. Then the FA-18F crews, each pilot reporting landing weight as they catch the wire and decelerate on the flight deck. Engines spool down. Ordnance crews confirm expended stations. All aircraft recovered, all crews accounted for. On the Farragut's bridge, the commanding officer stands at the damage control display. No flooding, no casualties. A near miss from a Type 53 torpedo that passed within 800 meters of her keel at terminal run. He enters it in the log. In the carrier's Combat Information Center, the intelligence team begins assembling the after-action package. Every mine contact registered by the Poseidon's sonobuoy network is extracted, plotted, numbered, and assigned a precise geographic coordinate. 51 mines confirmed in place. An additional 19 contacts probable but not yet precisely resolved. The mining operation had been running for 31 minutes when it was terminated. It had not finished. But it was not far from finished. Naval explosive ordnance disposal teams aboard the USS Pioneer are already receiving minefield coordinates and preparing to transit. The channel clearance operation will take time. 4 days minimum, possibly longer, depending on mine density and burial depth. But every mine is located, and every vessel that put them there is gone. At 0350 local, the carrier's intelligence section completes its initial analytical package. The 3 hours of Poseidon observation prior to the engagement
yielded a complete operational profile of the mine-laying formation.
Vessel types, cradle configurations, mine deployment intervals, communication protocols between each hull in the formation, the precise acoustic signature of the mine type used, catalogued as it entered the water at each deployment event. That acoustic signature is new. It does not match any previously catalogued Iranian mine profile. It is logged, time-stamped, and transmitted to naval intelligence within 14 minutes of the Poseidon's final pass. The Kilo's terminal evasion data, captured by the sonobuoy field during the last 60 seconds of the Eunice's existence, provides acoustic intelligence a confirmed propulsion signature, a maximum submerged sprint speed, and a detailed record of the submarine's evasion geometry under attack. These are not summary reports. They are operational blueprints. The 16 mine-laying vessels are individually catalogued by hull imagery, cross-referenced against IRGCN surface order of battle records, and assigned to known operational units. 3 of the destroyed vessels are positively identified against previous intercept records. 2 are matched to a separate incident in the Gulf of Oman, in which a commercial tanker reported a near miss with an uncharted bottom contact. The connection is logged, time-stamped, geolocated. By 0407 local, the first light of dawn is moving across the Strait of Hormuz. The carrier holds steady on a northwest heading. Her flight deck, 12 minutes ago still wet from recovery operations, returns to quiet. Deck crews secure aircraft. Weapons crews conduct post-flight counts. The escorts resume their standard defensive spacing. The P-8A Poseidon completes its final operational sweep of the area, logs its last passive contact, and turns south toward its land base. Her fuel state will make it with 30 minutes of reserve. From the surface, the strait looks exactly as it always looks in the hour before full dawn. Dark water. The faint smear of the Iranian coastline to the north. Tankers holding at anchor. The slow, unbroken traffic of oil moving west. Nothing about the surface of this water tells the story of what happened here tonight. But inside the updated charts now being printed aboard the carrier, 51 red circles mark the floor of the transit lane. Each circle is a coordinate. Each coordinate is a mine. Each mine is a decision made somewhere in a room the American sailors will never see, by planners who expected this morning to end differently. The strait is not yet fully open. The clearance operation has not yet begun. And the people who ordered this operation are already receiving word that it failed, and that the crews they sent here are not coming back. Someone will make another decision. The fleet will be watching when they do. If you want the next incident file, subscribe. The sea stays quiet until it doesn't.